Hello and welcome to Victory Consulting. This video is free, without copyright, for your use in your business for your discussions. If you have questions or issues with your business that you would like one of our team members to help you with, please let us know at victoryconsultingms@gmail.com. That's victoryconsultingms@gmail.com. Let's get started. I originally posted this article on LinkedIn a few months ago. It's titled, "May I Have Some Money, and When Do We Pay It Back?" After the last presidential election, Democrats proudly stated that adults are back in charge in Washington, and Republicans cried foul, loudly. So where are these adults? Are the Democrat adults having a dinner party with the Republican adults? I ask these snide questions because we're facing some serious issues, and leaders who are supposed to solve some of these issues seem to be missing. One such issue facing the United States is the national debt limit. According to the U.S. Treasury, we have already hit our debt ceiling of $31.4 trillion. That's trillion with a T, as in a capital T for terrible, back on January 19th, 2023. In other words, our government has not only maxed out our national credit card, but has completely overspent it on the past 4 months and counting. They've continued to do that since this article was written. Granted, there are some good and valid reasons for the governments to spend large sums of money in a strategic manner over the past couple of years. Humanity was forced to shut down for the most part worldwide due to a deadly pandemic, but that reason is now over. As any grandparent will tell you, if you want to have prosperity, you must pay your bills. That statement was true before, and it remains true today. So how did we get here in the first place? Well, adjusting our government's debt limit really wasn't even considered until the Ronald Reagan administration in the 1980s. Yeah, he was a Republican, where it was seen as a tool to stimulate the economy. But even then, it was only to be a temporary and a short-term measure because it was known that we would have to pay that money back. All economists of the day told us so, a lot. This is partially achieved back during the Bill Clinton administration, Democrats during the 90s. However, since that time, our leaders, and I have to put this in quotes, our leaders have continued to not only raise our debt limit, but to spend up to and even beyond that on numerous occasions. They continue to do so today. They have even caused temporary government shutdowns, and the U.S. government bond rating has decreased in the process. Some of our progressive politicians have even lobbied to remove any such debt limit entirely. This would be dangerous. In fact, removing the debt ceiling would be catastrophic. By having that limit in place, our policymakers are procedurally required to monitor their spending, just like we as individuals are required to monitor our spending in regard to our own personal debt, credit cards, other household goods, and debt. Okay, with the debt ceiling, they see the problem. So what? They may not understand the problem, but at least everyone can see it. And these policymakers have to address the problem. The American people will, at some point in the not too distant future, get tired of having to deal with this problem every time politicians kick the can down the road of avoidance. The U.S. cannot default on this debt because that would result in a worldwide economic depression that would collapse all of the world's economies, including ours. The USA simply could not survive such an event. If we don't start paying this debt down now while we can afford it, we will be forced to do so later when we can't afford it. Think austerity programs in such wonderful governments like France, Greece, etc. Those plans always worked out so well for those former empires, didn't they? Please note my sarcasm. Thank you. How do we solve this problem? Well, here are 3 steps. First, turn off the spigot. The old saying of how to get out of a hole is to first put down the shovel. That's true. That's especially appropriate here. Our government likes to look at committed funds as money that is already spent. So if the federal government simply not reissue or renew any COVID grants, but instead allow these funds to expire, our country would save millions, if not billions of federal dollars immediately. In some instances, the federal government has already committed to the renewal or reissuance of some of these funds. In these cases where the money has already been recommitted, the grantees need to know that these funds will expire at the end of the grant period and will not be renewed. That's a win. Second, reduce the spending in a strategic manner. This requires prioritizing your budget. Yeah, you have to have a budget, federal government, and find creative ways to pay your bills. As a suggestion, reduce all federal funding levels to pre-pandemic 2017 and freeze the spending level until 2027. That's less than 4 years. Yes, this is difficult, but this funding could be accomplished effectively through the issuance of block grants to the states, because block grants also hold states accountable for services provided to the citizens within their boundaries. That's a win-win situation. And third, once these two aspects are implemented, a very compelling argument is automatically made to justify increasing the federal debt ceiling, if needed. Further, the American people will not be so averse to raising the debt ceiling once our political leaders have proven that they can manage such a responsibility. And by doing so, the value rating of the U.S. government securities will improve, and our economy will grow and prosper even greater, exponentially. It's a win-win-win situation. Now, if we only get these adults to the table,